Okay, puzzlers, I have come across a 3-round speed puzzling elimination challenge with the level of difficulty increasing for each round, and you will not believe the puzzles they selected. Hi, I'm Sandra, the Puzzling Canadian, and welcome to my channel. Well, recently I came across a speed puzzling competition that is hosted by a puzzling store in Portugal. Now, my background is Portuguese, so I can understand the language, I can speak it, I can also read. So what I do occasionally is just browse some social media sites, see what's going on in the Portuguese community when it comes to puzzling, and I came across this competition. Now, this competition is hosted by a store called Puzzles PT, and this is the 3rd time that they are doing this competition. And it was held between the months of March all the way to May, and they did 1 round per month. And the puzzles that they used were Clementoni. So what is this competition all about? Well, it is a 3-round elimination challenge that takes place online. And what you need to do is each round you got to qualify to move on to the next round. So how do you qualify to move on to the next round? Well, in the first puzzle you get, you will have 2 hours and a half to complete that puzzle. If you complete the puzzle in the specified time, then you get to move on to the next round. So the first round was in March. If you made it, you move on to the next round, and the next round is held in April. And then you will get another puzzle mailed out to you, and you need to complete that puzzle in 2 hours in order to qualify for the final round. And then the final round was held in May, and you have 1 hour and a half to complete that puzzle to see who is the champion of this competition. So it's held online. The puzzles are sent out to you, and you have to wait for the specified date. You have to have internet and have your computer set up so they can see you working on that puzzle at that time. So the cost for the competition is 28 euros, and that will include the puzzles and the postage. Right now, it is only available to people in Portugal. I did not do this competition while it was going on, obviously, because to ship the puzzles would be very expensive. So I watched, and whenever I saw them release the puzzle, I would then try to find that puzzle here in Canada. And then I kept all 3 puzzles till the competition was over. And then I decided to work on them myself to see where I stand amongst all these puzzlers in Portugal. Okay, let's start off with round 1. Round 1 was held back in March, and the puzzle that they selected was this one right here, a Clementoni called Strasbourg Old Town. It's a very pretty puzzle, an image that I would probably select myself, but don't be fooled, it has tricky sections. When I opened up this puzzle, I started first by separating the edges, and I thought I'm going to do the edges first in this one. I just thought it would be easier to move from the outer edges into the puzzle. And I started on the left-hand side. There's a very nice light section of a building. I worked on that side first. Once I got most of that done, I then started to tackle the right side. Now that side there has a lot of lines, a lot of windows there, even have a big section there of greenery, but I worked on that one. Then I moved down to the water. Now the water has that reflection, so it's not easy to assemble, but I managed to get it done. I think the hardest part was that brown wall on the left-hand side that went just underneath that little restaurant area there. That brown, they looked all the same. The brown colors just were giving me such a hard time. But I managed to figure it out, and once I did, I left the sky to the very end. So round 1, I had 2 hours and 30 minutes to complete this puzzle, and I felt confident that I could do it within that time frame. I just didn't know if I was going to get it under 2 hours or over 2 hours. But I ended up completing this puzzle at 1 hour, 44 minutes and 37 seconds. So that would qualify me for the next round, and I was really happy with that. If you take a look at the standings, so I went back and looked at the rankings. If I was competing, I would have placed 21 out of 45 puzzlers, and I am delighted with my results, considering that there were tricky sections in this puzzle. So round 2. this is where the competition gets interesting. I knew that the next round, the level of difficulty would increase. I did not think it would be this challenging. This was the puzzle that was selected. This one here, a Clementoni called Cat and Bunny. And I got the puzzle and I looked at it, or I saw it once they released it in April, and I'm like, it's just fur and then a blue background. And if you take a close look, the panels are very similar. There's lines going in there and specks of brown here and there. So I'm not a fast puzzler. I'm new to the world of speed puzzling, and this is a challenging puzzle, especially for me, because I am not used to doing that, especially the fur. The fur is, white here, gray here, but then you got speckles of white. So it was quite the puzzle to do. So how to begin? I didn't even know where to begin with this one. And I was at an advantage because the people who were competing in this puzzle did not see this puzzle until they unwrapped it and had to start working on it right away. So because I was following after the fact, I was able to get the puzzle and sort of look at it and try to come up with strategy, but I just didn't even know what kind of strategy. Just get her done. That's about it. So sorting the pieces is pretty easy. You've got the fur, you've got the blue, and then you got the bottom floor. So that's what I started first. I just sorted the pieces into blue sections, fur, floor, and edges, of course. And then I decided I'm going to do the floor first. So I worked on the floor first. And then I decided there's lines that go up and down the wood panels. So I pulled out those pieces that had those lines and I tried to see if I can work on those. Then I tried to put some edges together. And then I just didn't know where to go to next. I was trying to pick blue pieces and see if I could find where they would go. And then I decided I just have to tackle the fur. I just got to do it. So I picked up pieces, tried to see if I can get a section that would work. And finally, it was clicking with the bunny. I was finding pieces and I decided just to roll with it. And I'm like, I am finishing all the fur. I'm doing the bunny, then the cat, and I don't want to see this fur again. And there was a lot of trial and error. It took a while and I managed to get it done. And then you're left with the blue. And I really struggled with the blue, trying to find the pieces. They looked the same. And eventually I ended up getting it done, but it took quite a bit to work on that back blue panel. Now, I had 2 hours to complete this puzzle. And before I started, I knew I was not going to complete it in 2 hours, but I was going to give it my best shot. I don't even know what guess it would be because fur is the hardest for me, but definitely would not be in 2 hours. And I did not do this in one sitting. I think I did the first little batch. I did about an hour and a half. Then I stopped the timer, had some other stuff to do, came back on the same day. I did it all in one day, but I just broke it up into chunks. Came back and then worked on it again. What was my time for this puzzle? I ended up completing this puzzle in 3 hours, 22 minutes, and 23 seconds, which is way past the qualifying time. This puzzle just exhausted me. I was so tired after doing that because there's so much focus on that back panel. I was tired. I ended up taking a nap after this puzzle. It was very draining. And I went back and I looked at the rankings. I ended up placing, I think it was 25 out of 36 puzzlers. But keep in mind that there were 10 puzzlers that didn't provide the time. So I'm not sure if there was complications with the shipping of the puzzle. I don't know why so many puzzlers didn't get that one done. So even though there were 36 people's names down there, 10 of them didn't get it done or didn't submit times to Puzzles PT. So that's where my journey would have ended if I was actually competing in this event, because I would not qualify for the final round. But for the sake of this video, I decided I wanted to do the last puzzle. So if you thought this round was hard, wait till you see the next one. And now we have round 3, the final round. The cream of the crop are in this round. There were 8 puzzlers from the last round that qualified for the final round. However, there were 2 people that were very close, so they added them in. So a total of 10 puzzlers participating in this round. And I didn't know how they could find a puzzle harder than the last one. but I was wrong. They were able to find a puzzle harder than the last one. This is what they picked. This one here, it's a Clementoni from the Color Boom series called Psychedelic Jungle Sunrise. And my mouth just dropped when I saw this puzzle. It is a very difficult puzzle. It's very pretty, it has some nice colors here, but to speed puzzle this in 1.5 hours, I don't, that would be, it's almost impossible for me. No way I would be able to do it in 1.5 hours, but we have some very good speed puzzlers in this competition, and some of them did. Now, since I knew I wasn't going to be doing this puzzle in an 1.5 hours, there's no way I'm going to finish it. I decided to give myself enough time to work on it. So I started at the beginning of the week. It was on a Monday, and I wasn't going to do this all in one day. I was just going to do a little bit each day. So it took me over 3 days to work on it. And I decided to work on the middle section first. And I think that's what most of these expert puzzlers did. It's the most obvious. You have the yellow, you have the orange. And I started working on it, and I was getting excited because it was coming together pretty quickly. And I thought, oh, maybe I can do this. And then I did as much as I could, and I got stuck. And so I decided, well, I got to move on to the edges. Worked on the edges. Again, they were tricky. Finally ended up getting the edges done, and I didn't even know where to begin. Quite honest, the pieces, there's so many, they're nice colors, but the colors are repetitive. So I would just be pulling out whatever stood out. Like there's some blue at the top, but there's also blue at the bottom. So I'd pick out colors trying to find out where they would go. And it was hard because there's a lot of repetitive colors. And I had to refer to the box quite often. So I was looking at that image, picking up pieces, trying to figure out where they belong. You'll also notice there are sections of black, there's sections of red and like dark brown. So that was challenging. And I was doing this puzzle in my basement, which is darker. So the next day before I started working on it, I decided it has to be moved or I won't be able to make any progress. I moved the puzzle upstairs to an area beside a window, and that seemed to help because now I had the light. And I just tried to pick up a piece and just try to find where it would go and see if I made progress. Towards the end, I ended up sorting the pieces. I thought it would be a little bit easier, so I sorted them, and it did make it easier to finish off this puzzle as quickly as I possibly can, which is not that fast. Now, before I started this puzzle, I decided to write down a prediction on how long it would take me to complete it. So since the previous puzzle took me 3 hours and 22 minutes, and this one looked way harder, I figured it's going to take me much, much longer, maybe double, I don't know. So I guessed 5 hours and 15 minutes, but clearly I overestimated the time because in the end, it took me 4 hours, 14 minutes, and 23 seconds. So that was almost an hour more than my previous puzzle. But it still was very, very hard and took me much, much longer. It's just, I didn't expect to make any remarkable time on this puzzle. However, the people who were competing, we had one person complete this puzzle in the 1.5 hours to become the champ of this competition. And that was Mariana Mendez, and she came in at 1 hour and 3 minutes. That is a remarkable time. Congratulations to you, Mariana, because that is fantastic. This is so difficult. She was the only one that finished within that time frame. So what are my thoughts about the competition? Well, I like the competition, even though it was hard. I did find it fun, and I think the aspect I like about it is the qualifying round, like the elimination process. So it's 3 rounds, and you gotta work your very best or puzzle as fast as you can to make it to the next round. So it sort of pushes you and challenges you so that you can go further. So I think I like that type of setup. Now, even though for me, the challenge or the puzzles that were selected were quite challenging, for many other puzzlers who've been puzzling for a long time or who can do a 500-piece puzzle in 45 minutes, this is not too bad. And it gives you a different option because you're using Clementoni, you're using different images. So it just helps you get better at speed puzzling. Now, I encourage you to give these puzzles a try and see where you stand amongst the rankings. So I'll let you know where you possibly can find these in North America. This one here I purchased at Puzzles Canada, but I purchased the last one. I'm not sure if they've restocked yet. If you can't find them at Puzzles Canada, I think you can find this at RoseWillie. And this one here, the Cat and Bunny, I ended up picking up at RoseWillie, so I'll leave their link down below. And the last one, I ended up finding the Psychedelic Sunrise. I ended up getting this at a store called Imaginaire in Quebec. And they delivered to Canada. I'm not sure if they do the States, but they do deliver throughout Canada. So give these a try, and then you can go to Puzzles PT under tournaments. You can look for the rankings, and the tournament is called the Third Online Championship. So let me know your thoughts about this qualifying speed competition, what you thought of the puzzles, and if you competed in the competition, I'd love to hear about your experience. You can leave that down below in the comment section. Thank you for taking the time to view this video and witnessing me going quite slow while speed puzzling. If you found it enjoyable or informative, please tap that like button. And now I think I need to get back to practicing some speed puzzling so that I can keep up with these very talented puzzlers in Portugal. So until next time, happy puzzling.